This episode was filmed during the COVID-19 pandemic, so we've taken Suds Search inside. My guest today is Ben Fisher, co-founder of Steady Demand. He speaks all over the world on topics related to local SEO and social media marketing. He's been in the industry since 1994, and he's probably forgotten more about SEO than most of us will learn in a lifetime. Ben is a Google My Business Platinum expert. If you don't know what that means, stay tuned because I'm going to ask him. Ben joined me on Zoom to talk about map spam, how to get a suspended listing reinstated, and new products and features coming from Google My Business. Ben, thanks for doing this today. It's really great to have you on Suds Search. How are things with you?
Oh, things are going great, man. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Although I don't have any suds. What's up with that?
That's okay. That's all right. Next time you're in Chicago, on me. So come visit our office.
I got my big ass cup of coffee though.
Beautiful. I love that mug.
Oh, thanks.
So we met at SMX West, and I really enjoyed your speech, and then we got to know each other a little bit, not during the conference. For our audience, map spam might not be something they really understand. I think two questions related to it, just to kind of set the foundation. What are some common ways that people are spamming maps, and how big of a problem really is this?
Okay. So the most common ways that people are spamming maps is actually, believe it or not, sometimes unintentional. That they don't know that a virtual office is basically against the guidelines.
Sure.
They don't know that showing their address on their home is actually against the guidelines. Although it is still spam, basically, because it is obviously against the guidelines. And then there's the other side of it where where businesses are intentionally doing this. You see it a lot with lawyers, you see it in the garage door space, locksmith space, HVAC, where, say, a lawyer will go ahead and set up 6, 10, 15, maybe, what they call remote offices, which fits their business model, yes, but is against Google's guidelines because they're having addresses. They say they meet their clients, but they're really doing it just to rank.
Right.
The flip side of this is where you have lead generators. And lead generators are doing the same thing, except what they're doing is they're creating completely fake listings, which will be at some unknown person's house or in the middle between two commercial buildings, in the middle of the street. I've seen one that was in somebody's backyard. You know, their dog was showing. It was interesting. The one that I like the most is probably my KFC example.
I like this one. Yeah.
Where you have a lawyer that's in the back of a KFC, fake listing as part of a network, part of a lead gen network, and actually the initials of the lawyer was KFC, so that was kind of funny.
That's too good to be true. I remember back in the day, there were some incredible amount of locksmiths with locations literally in Central Park.
Yeah.
So not just kind of like there are no businesses in Central Park if people didn't know that, but like they would have somehow get a pin listed there in the middle of the city. So at Steady Demand, you and your team, you guys have a spam monitoring service, and you
spam fighting
and reputation of this. What does that entail? How do you guys help fight this?
Our spam fighting service, right, or spam reporting as we call it, basically, is a service where an agency or a company can come to us and they can either say, hey, will you build a list, or we've got a list of these companies that we want you to go after. And we'll take the list, we'll go through it, we'll do a nice visual scan on it, see if anything matches existing network types of criteria. And then we'll start doing research. We do about a 6 to 8 point inspection on every single listing. And we actually only charge $25 a listing, by the way.
That's great. Yeah.
From a removal standpoint, we get a 96% removed. So
that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so basically with that service, yeah, like I said, we're doing about an 8 point inspection on it. And then we do it and we submit it, and then we have some other techniques that we use that I can't really disclose, but it allows us to get up to that high percentage range of removal.
Wow. And so you describe this as one of the easiest wins in local SEO.
Yeah.
Is it, so can you give us some success stories or examples of where you were really able to?
Yeah.
Put one on a tee for you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about garage door spam, right? Before the whole coronavirus hit, we work with a lot of different garage door companies, some national franchise as well. And so with that, we might have an area that is saturated in, 400 listings of spam for garage door repair or garage door opener or garage door spring replacement. Anyway, we have this one company that we deal with. They've got about 5-6 real locations. And when we do a spam sweep for them, which is we go ahead and we go 1 month and we do like 400 or 500 removal, their business will increase by well over 300% for about 2 to 3 months before they get a wave that comes back.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're in an area that's very, very bad. Dallas-Fort Worth is horrible for spam and garage door space. We've had that. We've had other clients where, if you take a look at them using a tool like Local Falcon, for instance, you'll see their entire grid is like they rank number 1 where they are, but everywhere else, they're 50 plus. We'll do a spam cleanup and, go out and take a whack at like 40, 50 listings. And because that's what we do first, we look at what's above you and then we look immediately what's below you, about 10 positions. And because you don't want to go up and you don't want those guys who are below you to actually rise up as well if they're fake, right?
Got it. Yeah.
So that's the baseline of the technique in general. And yeah, I mean, it's basically you'll go from being like number 50 to being like number 2.
You're moving up because they're moving out. That's really what it is. That's the whole premise behind it. I love this. In terms of your presentation at SMX, there was something I really liked that you said that I think could be controversial, but I thought it was a great point. Okay. You said that we should not hope that Google makes sweeping changes. Correct. That sweeping changes, it seems that I think anyone who is listening to this is like, well, they're this gigantic company. They're one of the biggest technology companies in the world, if not the biggest.
Yeah.
Why don't they just make sweeping changes, move all these spammers out of there, and fix their map algorithm? Why isn't it that simple?
So let's talk about what a sweeping change is. And anybody who was working in the legal field saw this back in June or July of last year.
Right. Good point.
Okay. Wall Street Journal article comes out, talks about millions of fake listings. They were talking about the whole swarm, and it gave Google a very bad look. So before that article came out, they made a big sweeping change. Mm-hmm. Now, sure, they said, I think it was like 400,000 listings, something like that is what they removed in that sweep. How many of those do you think were actually real companies? A large percentage.
A large percentage.
I can't tell you the number, but it's a large percentage. And I can't tell you why, but I can tell you that was the knee-jerk reaction of and making a big sweeping change. So
it's important to know, for people to know the kinds of businesses that we're talking about here. Most people in the maps are very small businesses. They're 1 or 2 employee, mom and pop kind of shops. Yeah. If they get swept up in this kind of thing, they're probably not as sophisticated enough consumer or user of this service to really know how to remedy it.
Oh yeah.
It could be very damaging to their business. And when that happens, it's not really people who have access to agencies who get in trouble. It's really the people who are just trying to run a good business who, for no fault of their own, have gotten swept up in sort of a sweeping change, which I think is the danger, right?
It's a big time danger. I mean, and we see this actually in areas where we do spam cleanup and reporting. So we'll go through an area and do reporting, because you got to remember, everything is being fed into a machine learning model at some
Right.
time, right?
Yes.
So whether it's suggest an edit or a submission through the redressal form, it ends up in the machine learning model. So what will happen is sometimes positives will get into that machine learning model, or they, this is about to get geeky, but, or they do something which is called a Mendel test.
Yes.
And Google that. And what you'll see is that basically states that during an experiment, there should be X amount of false positives for the experiment to actually work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happens if you take that number and you add a 0 to it by accident? Okay, that's how many false
Right.
positives that you're supposed to have to make it work.
Right. Right.
Okay,
Right.
so extrapolate that out, and that's where you get problems.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, basically, so we see it in areas where we do a lot of spam reporting work, is sometimes we will see a bunch of good actors go
Mm-hmm.
down at the same time, not because they were reported, but because they got caught up in a mini little sweep.
Yeah.
So we see that happen too.
That makes perfect sense. So let's say I'm just a small dry cleaner and I don't have I get suspended. I did something wrong. I ran afoul of the rules. I didn't mean to. I didn't do anything malicious. I just got swept up in something like this, and I want to get I now have a suspended listing,
Yep.
and I want to get reinstated. Should I go? I should just go immediately to the form that they have and just fill that out, right? That's all I should take.
So a lot of people do that. I say if you're, God, this
I'm
doesn't.
joking. I'm joking, by the way. Don't do that. You
No,
should,
don't
yes.
go run out to the form, please. Small story is that I got a client. I'm actually still working on their listing. They've been suspended now for about a month and a half. But anyway, coronavirus delay, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But they did that, as a matter of fact. So not only did they hit the reinstatement form, they had their search engine optimization company hit the reinstatement form, and then their brother hit the reinstatement form, right? So 3 reinstatement forms. Of course, they got back the maintain one line of communication email, which actually doesn't go out anymore, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they had basically hit too many times.
Okay.
Number 1, right? Which basically every time you hit it, it pushes you back to the back of the line. Okay.
Right.
So you may have already been in a 2-week queue, but you hit it. Now you're 3 weeks. Now you hit it. Now you're 4 weeks.
Right.
So what happens? You get frustrated, right? You start Googling GMB, Google My Business suspended, Google My Business reinstatement, etc. Anyway, people end up finding us and contact us. First thing we say is, all right, tell me your story.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I got suspended, 2 months ago. We hit the okay, great. I was like, just out of curiosity, did you supply any information to them when you hit the reinstatement form? Oh, no, we didn't think we had to. Yeah, okay. You're going to get back with denial, probably.
Yeah.
Take a look at the listing. Bam, see a couple issues are already. Start taking a look at their legal documentation, which most people don't have up to date. They might be missing a suite on the Secretary of State. They might have no BBB accreditation. There might be little data inconsistencies all over the place. Anyway, long story short is that you basically have to, in a roundabout way, kind of go over and do what I call appending the case file, basically with the specialist team, which is not an easy task actually. And sometimes you'll just get the denial even when you're in the process. So, and anyway, all sorts of different little things can happen. What I suggest people do is that if you get a suspension, the first thing you need to do is relax.
Yeah, good tip.
Get up, walk away from the computer, go to the park, go do something, drink a beer.
It's a good
And
tip.
it's basically take a chill pill, is what I like to say. Just take a chill pill. Then get your head on straight.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the Google My Business help community. We're not going to be able to get you reinstated, but we can at least take a look at your listing and give you some pointers.
Mm-hmm.
Because like in this case, by the way. It was like the construction company. They have a storefront. Interestingly enough, the 7 in their address looks like a 1.
Ah.
So it automatically looks like an address mismatch.
Ah.
So I had to, when I went ahead and I updated the file, I said, look, I said, the image that you're going to see is going to look like the address is incorrect and not matching any legal documentation. I said, but look at this zoomed in picture.
Right.
3, 4, 5, 6. Now, so, but look at the zoomed in picture and then you'll see the address actually matches.
That's such a good example of how this is a machine now. This isn't just a human being who can think itself. So just those little things can make your listing look spammy or appear to be something that it isn't. So
well, and the thing is though, is if you weren't looking for it, you would never notice it.
Mm.
So and actually it doesn't have to do it with a machine. It has to do with a human being.
Okay.
So because the team that deals with the reinstatements,
Right.
they're moving very fast. So they're looking at whatever pieces of proof or evidence that you've provided, or they're just looking in general to see, okay, to weigh it basically. Are you real or are you not?
Yes.
And so if I'm on the spam team and I go look at your street view, or I look at a provided photo, and it looks like a 7 instead of a 1, or a 1 instead of a 7, however you want to look at it, I'm immediately going to say, oh, it's an address mismatch. I'm not going to zoom in on it really close.
You got to get through a lot of these things. Yeah.
I don't care that much. I just don't. And that's the thing is that, the people on these teams are not business owners. So it's like they're engineers and they're looking at it and they're just making a deduction very quickly.
Right.
Actually, in that case, that one got a little bit more complicated because we ended up hearing back from the team and they said, it was a previous manager, which is a whole nother suspension type of case. That deals with people abusing suggest and edit too much, usually, or an agency, a pay-per-click account.
Makes sense.
Or even sometimes bird eye.
So I think before we get too far, I think people will be interested why you're using the we and us sort of pronouns here. You're a Google My Business Platinum product expert.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And tell us, what is that, and what sort of things does that allow you to know about?
Sure. So as a platinum expert, basically, I guess I'll start off with how you become one in the first place.
Yeah. I love your backstory of how you got it. Wasn't it sort of out of frustration with a gun dealer or something like that?
Yeah, you want me to tell you? Want me to bring it up?
I like that story. Yeah.
I'll bring it up. Sure.
Yeah.
So this started out back, gosh, must have been 2014, something like that. And we were working with a lot of local companies. One happened to be a gun store out of Sacramento. And I mean, these guys sold everything from AK-47s to like almost like freaking 50 cal rifles, sniper rifles, etc. Anyway, long story short, they got removed from Google Maps. And so I did what everybody does, and I called Google support. Bad idea.
Yeah.
Call Google support, talk to somebody there. That person told me that gun stores were being removed from Google Maps because guns kill people. And I said, really? I said, okay, well, guns kill people. All right. Interesting. So does that mean you're going to remove liquor stores?
Right.
Liquor kills more people than guns.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, yeah, we're going to remove liquor stores. I was like,
they said yes to it?
Yeah, they said yes. I was like, so what about gas stations? Are you going to remove gas stations? They sell cigarettes. They sell liquor.
Yeah. Right.
Cigarettes kill more people than liquor does. They're like, we might. I was like,
whoa.
Can I speak to a supervisor?
Yeah, right.
And so I talked to the supervisor, really nice guy, speaks English very well. And I asked him the same questions. He's like, yes, we're removing liquor stores. Yeah. It's like, yes, we're removing all gun stores.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm like, what's your name? Thank you. Okay. So immediately head over to the forums at that time. open up a thread, and I'm like, how in the world can this be right? This can't be right. This goes completely against everything I've ever learned. No, etc. And it's wrong. And my colleague Joy Hawkins, went ahead and escalated this up to GMB, and she was already a product, top contributor back at that time is what it
Top
was.
contributor was what it's called. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but she was also, I'll just say P now, but so she brought it up to them, and she came back and she's like, no, that information's incorrect. We'll get your client back up online. And they got my client back up online.
That's so interesting. Wow.
And back in those days, gun stores were not allowed to manage Google My Business. They could just be basically in a soft suspended state, right?
Interesting.
So I looked at the experience that I had, and I was, how many other people are just this frustrated? And I started looking around the forum, and I'm reading through all of this, and it's just like, businesses shouldn't have to go through this.
No.
It's hard enough doing business and getting business, and having to deal with being removed from Google.
Right.
And all of the bull basically that comes out of India support. So I took it on myself to just start helping people and just start learning more about it. I knew I was going to get more local clients. So I was like, I've got to learn more about this. And I really did. I had an intent. I wanted to help people. And so I started solving problems. I started reading other people's threads and learning about it. And 6 months later, I got an email from somebody over at Google. Elizabeth actually is who it was at that time.
Okay.
And she reached out to me and she's like, hey, would you like to join the top contributor group? And I was like, yeah. So it's an invite only program.
Okay.
And so when you first join the group, you're just pretty much kind of learning still, right? And you have to go, and basically at that point, after you go through that for a period of time and expertise and et cetera, you're evaluated, then you get graduated up into the gold group. Okay, so gold product expert group, of which there's about 40 in the world. Okay. And there's about 17 in the northern United States, Canada area.
Yeah.
Actually, I take that back. That 14. Anyway, but and then when they moved over to this new platform, now they have the silver, gold, platinum, basically. And so they're only. It's really, I think it's more of an honorary title than anything else.
Okay.
Because it has to deal with how many other product experts have you trained or mentored? Mm-hmm. How much are you regularly contributing? How long have you been in the program itself? So I don't think platinums are any better than golds, personally.
Okay.
Or even silvers, for that matter. It's like we're just all people and we're all just helping. So, but there are 3 platinums, and it's me, Joy Hawkins, and a gentleman out of Germany, an awesome guy named Helmut, which everybody sees in the forum.
That's awesome.
And then you've got your golds, which are Jason and Colin and everybody.
Jason
and
Brown,
it's like, yeah, exactly. So, and they're a great group of people. We're all brothers and sisters.
They are really great. Everyone there is like some of the just good people in this industry. Joy and Jason, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. We just want to help people.
That's where it comes from. That's interesting. Is there anything you are able to tell us that might be coming on the horizon, or that you're really interested in at this time? I know some things you can't not talk about, and that's totally fine. But is there anything that's really interesting you now that you are able to talk about?
Well, one thing actually just got rolled out today. And so the big initiative with Google My Business has to do, of course, with everything that everybody's talking about, which is the coronavirus, right? So right now is actually a really great time for people to make suggestions on things that they would like to see from Google My Business as it applies to the coronavirus and the current atmosphere for merchants and consumers. So, one of the suggestions that we made was it would be a good idea to have curbside pickup and delivery and takeout added as attributes to Google My Business profiles. But that just rolled out today.
Awesome.
So that's what I've been doing, is I've been kind of collecting from people, but like, what do you want to see? What do you want to see that's even specific to your industry?
Yeah. And again, those are the businesses who are going to be hurt the worst. So this is a lot of help.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like we even talked about, it's probably not going to happen, but we talked about, can we bring posts to
yeah.
hotels?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not going to happen. But,
Okay. Right. But
it's
it's
like a major thing that did happen is posts came to the API for chains,
mhm.
which is something that chains have been wanting since the beginning.
Oh, sure.
It's not permanent, but it's there for right now, and it
Yeah.
helps. So my suggestion would be is if you have a suggestion or something that you want to see, just hit me up on Twitter or on the forum or whatever.
All right. And what's your Twitter so I can find you? It's easy to remember.
The social dude.
Right. Very good.
Old
Um,
animal.
well, I'm going to have to wrap up here soon, but I wanted to talk
Sure.
to you. You have this really interesting package you're calling the assurance package, and I want to just hear a little bit about it and how people can get started with you guys.
Yeah, I think didn't we talk about that earlier? The
We
assurance
did a little
package.
bit,
Yeah, a little bit, a little
yeah.
bit. You actually, well, I mean, as far as the assurance package goes, just reach out to me. Just head
Okay.
to steadydemand.com, and we'll get you set up. We'll do an audit, and we'll get you protected. The thing that I think is more interesting to talk about, and if you want, I could do a very quick show and tell.
Okay, please.
Share my screen. Is we have a brand new system
Ooh.
for listing monitoring. And what this is aimed towards is basically making sure that your employees don't get carpal tunnel syndrome.
Yes.
Any company, any agency that is doing spam reporting
Uh-huh.
typically will maintain a Google Sheet or an Excel file and then go in once a week and check on a Google listing to see if it's dead, right?
Mm.
So you've submitted it through the redressal form. Now you want to know, how's it doing? So what we do is, and we do this for a ridiculously low price, by the way, is we maintain a system that will show you which ones are active and which ones are suspended.
I love it.
So in this scenario, there's only 5 in the system because they're examples, right? But, so you click on suspended. Now, again, these are all examples. But our system basically sees that this listing is suspended.
Mm.
Okay. So it's automatically monitoring listings on a daily or weekly frequency.
I love this. Wow.
And so you can go back in and just add a glance. And we have a notes area and all sorts of stuff, by the way, too. You see right here, notes. So like, for instance, note could be HVAC client 1,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
keyword in market for XYZ client. And so, you get the website and then the maps listing, address, phone, your notes. So you can at a glance see what's live and what's not.
I love this.
The cool thing about that is you could load your own clients into there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can monitor your clients for being suspended,
Yeah.
load yourself in there, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and then start loading in everybody that you're reporting.
I
And
love
now
that.
you automatically know when it's happening. No more clicking, no more waiting.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah,
My employees would love that. That's great. So
like I said, no more carpal tunnel.
that's well, Ben, I'm gonna have to drop off. This has been so fun. Thank you for joining me, and
Yeah.
keep up. You're fighting the good fight. I think that's the main thing. You guys are doing a great job, and thank you for everything you do for our community as a
Right on,
PE.
man.
And I look forward to seeing you once conferences open up again. I'll see you out on the road.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
All right, talk soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.